There were also 5 other people that were injured, including an employee that worked at the building that exploded, and a North Star ambulance employee. Maine State Police, the State of Maine Fire Marshal's Office, and the Maine Emergency Management Team are all here, along with the Sheriff's Department, the Franklin County Sheriff's Department, local agencies in our area. Also, Governor Mills is here today to support our family, the first responder family. And if you have any particular questions, we can open that up now.
Chief, you mentioned a gas smell for this first firefighter that arrived on scene.
Yes, sir.
Right now, do you have any indication of if this was a leak of propane, of natural gas? What exactly might have started this?
So the preliminary investigation looks like it may have been a propane or a natural gas leak. That's in the very early stages of the investigation. That's why the State Fire Marshal's Office will be the primary lead on this, and the State Police.
Can you tell us the name of the firefighter who got it?
I'm not able to release that right now. We are still trying to notify family members. We want to make sure all family members have been notified. Also, our fire chief, Terry Bell, he is one of the ones that has also been life flighted. So 6 people have been life flighted. They all were taken to Franklin Memorial Hospital originally, but all of them have been either life flighted or transported by ground ambulance to local hospitals in the state of Maine.
And that's 4 firefighters, 1 employee, and 1 ambulance, 1 first responder.
And can I defer to Mike Senecal? You know the answer, Sheriff, to that specifically?
Yeah.
I apologize. We're just going to clarify that. So I think it's 4. So we have, unfortunately, the fire department member that lost his life, 4 firemen that were also injured, and the leak employee, which was and the ambulance person. Yes. I think. Well, actually, Sheriff Nichols was one of the first responders, and he actually helped pull some of the victims from the scene. And I think they had majority of them were burn victims, consistent with a blast. I mean, it was a very large explosion. Some of you may have seen already.
This was a fairly new building, as I think a lot of us have come to realize. Can you talk about where the investigation goes from here with the building that, obviously there were permits pulled and such to renovate an existing building that was there. Will that all be part of this investigation?
That will be all part of the investigation that will be done by us, and like again, the primary investigators of the State Fire Marshal's Office.
Can you talk about how your departments are doing? Obviously, the fire chief is a big part of this community. His department is reeling and pushing for his recovery. How are the Farmington police, Farmington firefighters, sheriff's department all doing?
So all of us are one big family. We all know each other, especially in a small town. We all know the fire chief. We all know the fireman that was killed today, and it affects us tremendously. We all feel for his family as well as the firefighter family. So yes, it affects us deeply.
Has there ever been a firefighter death in this town?
I don't believe that there's ever been a firefighter death in this town. At least not in the line of duty that I'm aware of.
Governor Mills, this is your home community. When did you first hear about what happened?
Early this morning, shortly after it happened. And we are a strong community, a very close-knit community. But we want to protect all other communities from this kind of thing happening too, and make sure that we get to the cause and origin and exactly what happened and why, and make sure it doesn't happen to anybody else again. Meanwhile, our hearts go out to all the families of the injured and the deceased, and to all the people of this community, of which I am a proud member.
Did you know the victim, Governor?
Yes.
And as difficult as this is going to affect Farmington for a very long time. The people who were injured today and killed were part of their full-time staff, and they were the ones who were the primary call. And we all know how difficult it is to man fire departments within the state, and this is really significantly going to impact Farmington and the surrounding communities. Farmington's very busy, they're very professional, and it's going to be a struggle to overcome this loss.
Sheriff, as one of the first people on scene, I know we have not been able to be up that far yet, but we've seen some pictures and such. Can you just describe for us what the scene is like up there?
You know, I spent a year in Iraq, is about the closest I can explain it. It was just total devastation. I've never seen destruction like that in my career. I've been in law enforcement 35 years. I've never seen anything like this before in my life, except overseas. It was horrible.
I know some of us have heard reports that there had been a school bus that had picked up some people a little while before all of that. Is that something you can speak about? Could there have been more people inside of that building when this happened?
It's not school kids. School
Yeah.
kids don't live there.
Yeah, there's some trailers behind the scene, but I'm not specifically aware. I guess, it would be about that time of day, but I don't have any specifics on that.
While we were out there conducting recovery, we were able to come across several people living out there and children, and everybody appeared to be fine, but shaken, but fine.
Yeah.
But the devastation is just incredible.
Can you tell us about some of the damage to the houses surrounding the level of damage?
Well, somebody described it, they said it looked like 9/11. I mean, it's just complete devastation, consistent with a large explosion. There was vehicles that were damaged, houses that were adjacent to this particular building, and they suffered, probably structural damage, it looks like. And I heard people tell me that they felt the blast all the way in Wilton, the next adjoining town.
Wait, can we assume that the employees were inside, however many, they smelled the smoke, they got out? So just the one maintenance man is still inside there?
Yes, that's
When the firefighters went in?
yes, that's my understanding. I'm not even sure if he was in the building. He may have been outside the building.
And how many employees were included?
That I don't know.
Is this something that you guys train for? We hear about training that departments across the state go through.
Sure, we all train, as you can see, the state police, the sheriff's department, and all the local agencies, along with fire and EMS. We train, but I don't know that we've ever trained for something that we saw this morning. And we certainly don't, expect to lose somebody that we've worked with for years and a loved one, a member of our family.
In that training, is there any technology in place that you have to sense these kinds of things, to sense the level of gas and that sort of thing that would tell you to get the heck out of there?
So the police department doesn't, and maybe I could defer.
Obviously, there is technology out there, but the circumstances as you see it presented, it depends on what you have foreseen when you get there as to what you're able to put into place to help alleviate that circumstance that's going on. Obviously, the timing of this issue was such that very little actual tactical capabilities were able to be deployed before the explosion took place, and consequently it had the impact on personnel as much as it did the operations itself.
Is any fire ambulance, any of the fire equipment damaged in the explosion?
So there was so the question was there any fire apparatus that was damaged? And yes, there was in fact. A ladder truck was damaged. And it's my understanding that it's not in service, probably won't be for some time. And we have another ladder truck coming up from, I believe, the Augusta Fire Department.
Another question for the fire marshal. You've been on a number of these explosions over the years. We see that everything is basically gone. If there was some malfunction with this heating system, for example, would you still be able to figure out what happened?
It really is hard to say, Keith. We'll put the pieces back together that we get from the puzzle and see what we're able to conclude as a result of that. Given the circumstances we have right now, it's just an unknown.
But nothing to point to anything beyond accidental here?
No, there's nothing to indicate that, it appears to be accidental.
Yeah. Is there anything else you can tell us about the victim in terms of family, anything like that?
No, other than he's a longtime member and community member here in Farmington.
What about the conditions of the people who were flown out? I mean, are some of these folks critical, or what is the status of them? You can.
I actually can't speak to that all that well. I know that they, were life flighted or brought by ground transportation to other hospitals, but I honestly can't speak to it at this point. I just don't know.
It seems that the people who were inside the building that work there and such did everything right. They evacuated everybody when they smelled smoke, called the fire department. Is that the understanding here?
That is my understanding, yes.
Want to just tell us what happens for the rest of the day? How long you think you're going to be on scene?
Sure. So obviously this is going to be a long-term investigation. Fire marshal's office, again, is the primary. And when they determine, number one, that the scene is safe for everybody, and when they're done with their investigation, then obviously we'll open it up. Obviously, we're concerned. We said that we had family members, there are households behind here. We want to get that open. We don't want to, have kids displaced, obviously. We do have Red Cross here, and we're going to help them in any way that we can. We're going to try to open up, so this is the Farmington Falls Road. This is a major thoroughfare through our town, and we will try to open this up as quickly as we can, as quick as possible, but we do need to do a thorough investigation. Honestly, I don't. They're still at, they were actually going door to door this morning just to check and make sure there was no other people injured and what might have been the extent of damage to, there's apartments in that area as well, so.
Was the gas system isolated to this building, not connected to anything else in the area?
That I honestly can't speak to. I just don't know.
Is there anything else you'd like to say, Governor?
No, just my condolences again to the family of those injured and the one deceased. And we're going to get to the bottom of this as much as we possibly can to protect this community, to protect all other communities, and make sure this doesn't happen again.
Just a couple of other points. We will attempt to get the names and the injuries later in the day. The firefighter who was the victim will be removed by the state medical examiner's office this afternoon, and there will be a procession from the scene to the state medical examiner's office, down Route 2 to Route 27 to Augusta. I'm anticipating that's going to be a mid to late afternoon. And we will give you more updates, most likely with an email blast later in the afternoon. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, so if you're still watching us live here, we are live in Farmington. That press conference just wrapping up, and just to give you some points off of that, police chief and Governor Mills saying we are going to get to the bottom of this explosion. They believe it was caused by some kind of gas or propane leak, but right now they're really just focusing on supporting the community here and supporting the fire department here, who has lost a firefighter. And among those injured, we're hearing is actually the chief of this fire department, who was taken by life flight from the scene to an area hospital. But of course, this is all unfolding, and we'll continue to keep you updated as we learn more. We are hearing also a procession that will carry that fallen firefighter from the scene here to the state's medical examiner's office. That will happen sometime this afternoon. We'll continue to keep you updated with that coverage both on air and online. But for now, Lee, I'll send it back to you.
Okay. Zach Blanchard live there in Farmington. All right, thank you for watching the extended version of our noon broadcast here today. This is a story we'll continue to follow throughout the day on the air, online, Facebook, all our social media platforms as well. So stay tuned, and we'll see you back here live at 5 o'clock, if not before.